Alright friends, welcome back to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Your YouTube channel is dedicated to helping you get better at Bannerlord through the use of tactics and field command. We have a much requested battle here in that we're assisting another side in a battle. Of course, this will happen frequently in your campaign. It doesn't happen very often in my own campaign, but a little time ago I was allied with Sturgia, and we happened upon a wide force of Sturgia that was fighting a larger Assyrian force. Now, I hate Assyri forces in my campaign with a passion. They've been responsible for many deaths in our family and some of our worst losses, so I'm very eager to help the Sturgians here. You can see from the battle sides that even with the Sturgian assistance, we're outnumbered, and I find fighting with the artificial intelligence to be, how shall we say it? We will call it unpleasant. First, you never know what they're going to do. The very first thing I like to do in battles like this is sort of assess what my ally is doing, right? We have these two different colored units in here. I also like to try to look and see at their troops and kind of identify what they're going to be doing based on those troops. But quite honestly, a lot of times you just have to sort of constantly get an update on what kind of their AI is doing, what their plan is for the battle. But to be perfectly honest, friends, usually the AI in battles like this acts like absolutely a dumpster fire. They will charge in, they will leave you fighting a main force when they should be charging with you and just totally hang you out to dry. Other times they'll just kamikaze suicide their forces as if they have triple the enemy's numbers. It's just highly unreliable, so you just never know what's going to happen. Nevertheless, into battle we go here with these Sturgian forces. We have, it looks like about half of the forces are Sturgian and half are ours. Again, I see a lot of heavy horse on their side, right? So they have at least some elite troops. And what we're going to do is basically just set up our units here in a defensive ring, and then depending on what our idiot ally does here, we will try to put out some tactics on the fly. That's why this will fall under our freestyle series. Our freestyle series of videos is designed to show people basically unique scenarios where you have to shift on the fly, make tactical changes as things are going, and then just do your best to adapt. So I've laid out my troops in sort of the normal formation. If you don't know what normal is, please watch some of my other videos. So this is kind of a chaotic battle that's already undergoing here. I'm recording a lot of these episodes live, and heads are rolling as we speak. So I don't have time to tell you every formation that I put out there, but I'll do my best to keep you in the loop to what we're doing here. What I typically do is I set up my 1st Infantry and 4th Archers as our main center, so to speak, our center flank directly facing the enemy. Then on the right flank, in most cases, sometimes the left, but my right flank, I will have my 5th Archer Corps and a Skirmisher Corps, that's the 6th, directly in front of them. Additionally, I have a cavalry line here of 27 guys, that's our 3rd Cavalry. They act basically as a barrier, a protecting screen for our allies. Meanwhile, the last corps that I'm moving to this side is the 8th Corps. And the 8th Corps is my elite family members, high-level companions. They're both a reserve unit, but also a very powerful force that I use to attack the enemy at specific moments in the battle. So we'll do a little javelin work here as we observe the Battanian, the Sturgian strategy, and again, based on both the death spam and the movement of their cavalry just charging a force quadruple their size, you can see their strategy is to get killed quickly. Maybe these guys all broke up with their girlfriend last week or something like that. They seem to act suicidal, and that's what they appear to be doing here. There's a few of their guys, their javelin throwers are making some javelin throws, but I also see infantry in very thin lines just sort of charging the enemy like there's free donuts or something like that. Sometimes you just have no idea what your ally is going to do. So this may pretty quickly devolve into us versus a triple the size of our force Assyrian force as our enemy just implodes. You can see the death spam. These are not our troops, folks. This is just our allies totally immolating themselves on the enemy. I see Sturgians literally neck deep in Assyrian forces here. just getting cut to pieces. You know, their cav charged like right into the midst of 900 Assyrian forces, and they're obliterated, right? So I see their horses leaving without riders. They basically got completely annihilated. So, again, you know, it's not the greatest example of how to help your ally here, but this is a very much requested episode, and so we're going to show effectively what we do now, that our ally is sort of piecemeal running all over the battlefield. I still see random Assyrian forces just sort of randomly charging all over the place. So I have my first infantry moved very close to the enemy, and that's because I would love it if they engaged them. And the reason I would love it if they engaged my infantry line is that it's very heavy infantry. It's in a shield wall, and on our flank here, on the enemy's left flank, our right flank, we have brought our 6th and 8th to bear right into the midst of the enemy. Now here, I'm simply putting that cav right in the face of the enemy because we're going to try to roll up the enemy's flank with our elite 6th and 8th division. Right, they're shooting arrows in there. The 5th and 4th archers are raining death, but here's where we're really going to get our damage in. The enemy's sort of distracted by our 1st infantry, and we're going to roar in here. I'm sending the 1st infantry in now to charge. I want the enemy pinned down because we're going to roar into the enemy here with our elite skirmishers and our 8th Corps. Let me get myself a shield. I'm trying to get these javelins too. There we go. So the enemy is now trying to reform, and our 6th is bearing down on them, right? So right in the middle of their retreat, all of a sudden they have very fast units throwing javelins in their back, chasing after them. They have the 8th Corps, which includes some heavy cavalry. It also includes a bunch of ranged troops. Kill some of my own guys here. And the enemy is basically they're trying to retreat under a hail of different attacks, right? The archers are obliterating them. And I should explain what the enemy's doing here. They're trying to reform, right? They realized at this current situation that they need reinforcements, and they're sort of trying to retreat. But because we flanked them and got deep onto their territory, their retreat is almost instantly met by our forces coming behind them. So we've cut off a lot of their retreaters. They're going to get back maybe half of the troops that were originally kick these guys when they lose their head, that were originally in this battle, right? They're basically already severely damaged. A lot of their elite troops got cut down there, and now we're the attackers and the enemy's the one on their heels. I still see enemy troops, or excuse me, I still see ally Sturgian forces just kind of rampaging around randomly. So we have an ally in this fight. It's just well, it's unreliable as fuck. You just can't count on them to do anything in coordination with you. Certainly they're not going to do anything intelligent. You just have to do the best you can. When you see an opportunity with the ally, you're going to take it. So we'll recall some of our cav here. The enemy is now positioned over this ridge, right? We got the sun in our eyes here. They've got a nice ridge here to defend themselves, and they've probably formed an archer line. So it's on to phase 2 of this battle, basically rooting out this Assyrian force and finishing off the rest of them. You see me using this often. I've got a cavalry shield wall here. A lot of times I'll do that simply to move my guys in safety, right? They have all these horse archers, guys throwing javelins. You can consider these cav almost like, it's almost like a big metal gate, a metal wall here that I can put in front of our troops, protecting us as we advance. Okay, so their units are pushed quite a bit back from the ridge. It's a beautiful landscape. Feels like we should be having a football game here, or a picnic or something like that, not killing each other, but nevertheless, that's what we're here for. So very similar as the initial setup, right? By now, anybody who's watched the videos is quite familiar with my typical setup. We're going to stretch infantry across the front here, archers behind. I'll jump a horse here just so I have a little more ability for setting up some of these formations. I'm also going to use my 2nd cav as a screen as well. I'm putting them towards the enemy in shield wall while we set up our troops, right? I don't need the enemy raining 9,000 arrows on us while we're just trying to get our formation set up. Again, the 8th Corps set boldly out again to the right flank, the enemy's left, and we're doing that because the troops are both hardy and mostly uninjured or undamaged in this fight. When the enemy started to waffle there, once they started to waver a little bit, that's when the 8th Corps roared into battle. And so a lot of those guys didn't even take damage, right? These guys are ready to go still. You can see them protected by our shield walls. The enemy's shooting right at our cav. And our units are sort of spreading out in formation also behind these rocks down here. So the 5th archers in tow there. The 6 skirmishers are also in shield wall. The enemy's doing some damage here with their cav. They have both cav archers and their traditional Aserai Ferris, Aserai Veteran, Aserai Ferris, etc. Their noble line. But our archers are also more than holding their own. At this stage, we have more archers than they have horse archers, and so that's definitely a recipe for success. So is a blazing fast Ramphalia, or in this case, it's a custom pole arm that this character's like grandfather made a long time ago. I still have a bunch of these things in the vault that were from my original character who was a smith. And I highly recommend you use a swingable pole arm if you haven't tried yet. Once you get the timing down, you become absolutely lethal. If you're not one-shotting guys, you're at least doing most of their total life damage in one shot. Of course, thinly armored guys like archers, you know, it's every single guy dies to one shot. So the enemies, it's almost like they're kiting us here, except a proper kiting attack actually involves counterattacking the enemy every once in a while. You know, kiting is where the enemy retreats, or excuse me, the enemy's pursuing you, and you purposefully, tactfully, orderfully retreat in order to attack them at either a better location or a more concentrated time. Right? You're gonna bring the enemy in a little bit, sort of lure them into a trap, and then attack them from different angles. Attack them in concentrated forces. Here, the enemy, if this is kiting, it's the worst kiting I've ever seen. They're sort of perma-retreating here. I haven't seen an ally killed in quite a while. There's the first one, you know. But it's nevertheless, we're still going to continue to play out this battle. Obviously, not our most difficult battle at this stage, right? We're having our way with the enemy, but I'm going to show you what I do in these scenarios just to sort of both ensure victory and minimize losses. Now we've got this little ridge that's protecting us a bit here, and what I mean by protecting us is that the enemy archers don't really have good line of sight for our troops. They will once we move closer, but one of the ways that we can counter that, of course, is by using cavalry. We can get in there and interrupt their archers and really diffuse their ability to shoot us. So I've got shield walls on both flanks now, and we're just going to have these guys sort of slowly, methodically march in. You can see the arrows still raining from our archer corps, right? They have enough heads that they can see, so you can see the arrows whistling in on the enemy. I've got a nice big shield and a very good view now of the battle. Getting knocked around by horses here a little bit, but that's all right. Of course, I don't need to get dropped by a timely spear. So the enemies basically, they're all piled up in a big knot. It's a pretty awful formation. It would work well if they had cavalry that were sort of on the standby to attack us when we charged. But nevertheless, they just seem to be having a picnic with no concept of what's going to happen to them in the next 30 seconds. So we're now going to spread infantry around. We're going to move the 6th and 8th to the enemy's left, right, our far right flank. We're basically sending them towards the back, very similar to what we did earlier, and we're both cutting off the retreat and we're penetrating their archer divisions. I don't want the enemy to be able to spread out those archers in a big ring and really overwhelm us with the arrows. You can see our archers are still firing away. Our javelin throwers still have a few javelins left, right, before they go into battle. But because of this flank, right, we have the enemy sort of pinned in, hemmed in on at least 2 different sides. Enemy seems to be pulling another retreat here, another permanent bad kiting retreat. Lots and lots of green death spam. A lot of our archers are now out of arrows, so we'll be using them aggressively as infantry. So the enemy does have some archers set up that way. I see arrows whistling in on us, right? The Spatanian Fiend champ is like, sweet, more arrows, now we can shoot again. So what we want to do, of course, to approach this, first kill this horse. Thanks for the horse, dude. This guy just kamikazed on me. Bad decision. I told you about the swingable polearm, right? Yeah. Go get yourself one. What we're going to do is we're set up infantry lines, the 1st and 6th, with cav to support them. We're going to move them up in shield wall and give our units a screen. Actually, the enemy looks like they're routing here. Right now, I'm dragging a cavalry unit behind me. I think this is the 3rd. It is 8 guys. And we're just going to sweep in here and try to encourage the enemy to rout. If you can get the enemy to rout in a battle like this, oh shit, reinforcements just popped up right on us. If you can get them to rout, you don't have to kill all their troops, right? If enough of their guys get beheaded, they just head for the exits. And frankly, in a battle like that, that's just fine for us, where we're always trying to minimize losses. So we'll pour through here, inflict a little bit of fear on the enemy. Crush their morale a little bit more. Got to watch out for getting speared here by these last little middle tier cavalry charges. Cut off a few more heads, and that should be it. And we're gaining levels. So we'll look for more opportunities in my campaign for battles where we assist another side, but frankly, I might have to wait for my next campaign. I have been encouraged by other people to do a campaign. That little stall, by the way, if you're familiar or not familiar with it, that is the AI deciding what's the fastest way for us to get the fuck out of here. Your game will probably stall a little bit, at least it does on mine, and that's these 500 units all trying to figure out, like people in a fire in a movie theater, all trying to figure out what the fucking fastest way is out of there. Where's the exit? And they've made their decision. They're out of here. This battle is over. Now we can have our football game on this beautiful setting field. But anyways, finish that point. I'm considering another campaign, and I'm likely going to play as the Aserai, but I'm not likely to play it in a traditional manner. I might play it as a mercenary, but I might also play it as a brigand, somebody who just roughs up nobles, takes their goods, steals their lunch money, and then goes and buys liquor and women with the booty. If that does happen, of course, I'll definitely be seeking feedback on how to have the campaign, what kind of episodes to show folks, and hopefully we can get more battles where it's against an enemy that we can fight with an ally in the battle. That said, as you can see from that battle, and again, I'm belaboring the point, but you just can't trust your allies in situations like this. Observe what they do, assist them when you can, but watch your backs out there, friends, because these are no friends of yours. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you fellas next time.